Very good afternoon to all my dear students. Welcome back to the second counseling session of BEGAE, English Communication Skills. So this is your second lecture. Yesterday we started the discussion of block first, and the block first was about understanding communication. So now the block 2, here we are going from the theoretical concepts to the practical. So here we are going to discuss both the informal and formal aspects of communication. So first block was about the theoretical concepts that we tried to understand in detail yesterday. But this block 2, having 4 units, it is more about practical applications. So if you are having study material with you, so I wish you should keep the study material ready with you along with the check your progress activities so that you can understand in a better way, along with your notebook if you have, so that the practical application of communication could be understood in an effective and efficient manner. Because communication skills are like the other skills. If you don't practice these skills, then it is not going to be beneficial. So it is my humble request to all my listeners that please, if you have got the study material, you can download your study material in your smartphone or even your laptop. If you have the printer at your home, then you can also get the printouts. Okay, now we are going to start the block 2. So block 2 is having 4 units, and unit 1, 2, 3, 4. So unit 1 is dealing with the informal interpersonal functions such as greetings, introductions, inviting, small talk, and so on. I want to clear it that yesterday we discussed that there are 4 skills: listening skills, speaking skills, reading skills, and writing skills. And this block 2 is dealing with listening skills and speaking skills, especially in the formal and the informal and formal context. Clear? So this is about listening and speaking skills. There are 3 blocks. Yesterday I told you that there are 4 blocks, but then I again rechecked, there are 3 blocks. And the first block is about theoretical concepts of communication. Second block is dealing with listening and speaking skills, and third one will deal with reading and writing skills. Right. So unit 1 here in the second block, unit 1 is with the informal interpersonal functions such as greetings are there, introductions, inviting, small talk, and so on. Unit 2 of this block 2 is going to deal with making inquiries, asking questions, and having mixture of both formal and informal circumstances and the situations. Unit 3 is dealing with group discussions and meetings, and this unit will explain the skills which might help you to get a job and assist you in conducting yourself at the workplace. My dear students, this is very important because after all, you want to get a job or you want to get a promotion in the job. So group discussion skills, meeting skills are really very practical in your professional life, in your business life, in your official work. So I wish you understand these skills and try to improve your skills, especially of group discussion and meeting skills, because these are a part of the presentation skills. If you have a lot of knowledge but you are unable to present your knowledge, your information in a proper and effective manner, then the purpose is not achieved and the whole exercise. Then again in unit 4, it is again going to discuss essentials of presentation skills. These days, with the help of your power presentations, other print media, graphs, charts. So these are the audio visual aids, and we are going to discuss in detail later on. So again, unit 4 will deal with presentation skills. So, and these skills will help you in your academic and working life. And please be sure that when you are going to study your study material, you have to study the units and read the units carefully and try to check your progress activities. It is very important. Progress activities are less than the academic evaluation, simultaneous academic evaluation. And here you are the evaluator and you are the student. First of all, you have to answer the questions, and later on the answers are given at the end of each unit. So in order to just match whether your answers are correct or wrong. Fine. So this is the introduction to the block 2, and in the block 2 the first unit is the informal interpersonal functions. Very important. So there are two types of functions, two types of conversations. One is the informal, the other is formal. So first is, and when you are going to study this unit 1, what are the objectives? After going through the unit, you should find it easy to what? You can easily start casual conversations. You can introduce yourself and others. You can bring a conversation to an end. You can take leave of others and pronounce the sounds represented by the letters A and O, especially the weak forms. Like so far we have been taught in schools and also in the senior secondary classes that there are only 5 vowels and A, E, I, U, U. But once you study in detail, then you will come to know that actually there are not 5 vowels, there are 20 vowels. And there are 24 consonants. So those are called 44 speech sounds of English language. And that is the topic of phonetics. So I'm not going to deviate from the topic, just only to introduce. And these symbols are used as International Phonetic Alphabets IPA. Coming back, introduction to this unit. So in the previous block, we learned that some basic concepts of communication in English. But in this unit, we are going to be acquainted with some of the ways in which we can express ourselves informally with friends, classmates, colleagues in English. So we have to do this if the people around us. Sorry, there was some technical problem regarding the, they were saying there was a problem of the camera. Okay, now I have, okay, now coming back. Right, so here we are going to introduce that there are some topics in English communications that we have to get prepared to communicate well in the situations. And we cannot really predict what you have to know, you need to talk about, but we can help you in some commonly used phrases and expressions. Just a minute, please. Again, there is some technical glitch. Sorry for this inconvenience. I'm going to settle it down again. It will take just 5 seconds. Okay, fine. Okay, good. So in the past, so conversation was considered an art. So there was a time that conversation was an art. But a good conversationist was the light of the social gatherings and talking about the affairs of everyday world in an interesting and entertaining manner. So that was a skill, a cultivated talent. So now communication is not always exchange of information, because earlier we discussed that communication is exchange of information. But not all the times that communication is not all the times the exchange of information. Rather, sharing ideas on everyday events can be a great source of pleasure and satisfaction. So information is one thing. Information means technical information, scientific information, literary information, the information that requires some evidences, some proofs. But here, information, knowledge, fine. But even the day-to-day events and our general feelings of life, feelings of your family, and feelings in your schools, colleges, classrooms, everywhere, communication is possible. But these days, though, conversation or communication skills, they are not viewed as much of the art today, and as it was in the days of past. That was called the gift of gab. There was idiom in English that is called the gift of gab. The gift of gab means the ability to speak easily and to persuade other people with your words. But you can see that there are great political leaders of India who had great communication skills, and with their great communication skills, they were able to impress the masses, they were able to lead the nation effectively in a successful manner. So in every sphere, practicality is possible of the application of the theoretical concepts if you have prepared well and if you have good and effective communication skills. Okay, coming back, here today we are going to give more focus on the practical aspect than rather on the theoretical aspect that we discussed earlier in the last lecture. So here you can say that even this is also desirable for maintaining cordial relations with the people around us, even in the formal situations, like there are meetings, the participants, they are not going to begin to talk abruptly about business. Even if you are going to start a meeting, if you have personally attended a meeting, an official meeting, so first of all, what happens? So first of all, that they warm up with a few comments, like about the general comments, the journey, food, sports, and even current events. Then they are reaching towards the subject matter. So here, even in your practice sessions and the practical notes, it is provided some samples of conversation from fiction. When you are going to study your study material, you will find that there are some extracts taken from the fiction. Fiction means that the books from stories or novels, right, literature part, where the fiction, the imagination element is involved. And here you can also see that in addition, you can observe them, the way in which the things are said. So first thing, that is of listening skills. Simple. If you want to improve your listening skills, how will you improve your listening skills? You have to listen, because speaking is based on listening and writing is based on reading. If you want to be good speaker, you have to be good listener. You have to imitate how the other peoples are speaking, right? Then you are listening, then you will start speaking later on. And so again, when you are working through the suggestions in the blog you will find that there are some suggestions. You can similarly note that there are some equivalences and differences between the kind of expression you use in other languages. Fine. And even if you want to improve your listening skills, and even it is mentioned in your material that you can also watch movies or television serials and chat shows in English. But those topics should be appropriate to the situation and all of your academic and of good social nature. So in this blog, the first thing is about greetings. So greetings means to say namaskar in Hindi, to say good morning in English. So greetings, when you are meeting someone, then it is all about greetings. Fine. So greetings. So let us first look at a sample from a novel of conversation between two old friends. So here I am taking example from your study material. He says, "Hello, Raj." Then he says, "Welcome, Prashant. Take a seat. You startled me. You surprised me. When did you grow such long hair? You look like one of those ancient sages living out in the jungles. Whether I look like a sage or not is debatable. That New Delhi is a jungle, is not? Come, tell us about good old Mumbai, which I miss so much. But first, tea or coffee?" So this is one extract that is given here, and the piece, the return of the woman. This is the lesson or the story where from it has been taken. Now you can say greetings. So first thing is of hello, namaste. In Indian system, we always say namaste, namaskar, or in English way we can say hello. And every language, every society, every culture, every ethnic group has their own ways of greetings. Okay, all are respectable. So hello, he says hello is a common form of greeting. Common form of greeting among friends. So there can be variations in the tone in which it is said. Hello is also spoken or pronounced in different ways and manners depending upon the emotional state of the speaker and the degree of intimacy between the people engaged in the conversation. In this case, we can see that the two friends are overjoyed at meeting each other. So in this example, you can find that there are two friends who are having conversation, who are communicating, who are talking, and they are overjoyed. They are so happy at meeting each other. So the comment on physical appearance reflects the degree of intimacy between the two. So there is also special reference to Raj's feelings of nostalgia about the days he spent in Mumbai, because he wishes that I want to know something about Mumbai, where he had spent his earlier days. So the move in the conversation is the offering of a drink. So first of all, he is asking about his well-being. Then he is asking about or the offering of a drink, that whether would you like but first tea or coffee. Notice, you can see that this is not a full sentence. It is mentioned, I repeat, but first tea or coffee, but first tea or coffee, question mark. So expanded, it means will you have tea or coffee. So instead of giving full sentence, will you have tea or coffee, it is mentioned first tea or coffee. So this is the informal speech, informal greeting, not the formal. It is the informal, INFORMAL, informal speech. So informal speech usually has half sentences and phrases. Why? Because the speaker and the listener are face to face. Much of the conversation is understood through facial expression and gestures. Now here the point that we discussed earlier that is coming to forefront, that is of your body language. Body language means facial expressions, gestures, non-verbal communication. So here non-verbal communication is complementary to the verbal communication. So here is an exchange of greetings between a librarian and a library member. Now one more example you can see. How are you this morning, sir? All right, thank you. And how are you? Fine. Here are some new arrivals. You've really been interested in this new book by Pernod. Thank you very much. I read his Nobel Prize speech and I'm really eager to read all his works. Notice the respectful tone of the librarian and the politeness of the member's response to it without being over friendly. How are you is responded to with all right, thank you, or more commonly, fine, thank you. This could be followed by and how are you, right? So my dear students, today it is practical session, so that's why you may find it somewhat different from the earlier lecture, because there that was practical, that was not practical, that was theoretical, and today we have to understand, learn, practice in the practical form, right? And practice sessions are more important. Practice sessions are required, and if there are no practice sessions, the theoretical concepts are not applied practically, then your theoretical knowledge is of no use. So here examples are given. Now he says one more formal exchange of greetings. So earlier when two friends were talking, that was informal. This one of the librarian and the library member, it is of the formal greeting, because there is no personal relationship. They are not friends. One is librarian, the other is library member. So librarian is asking the member about new books to be read by him, and he is willing to read. Fine. So there is a respectful tone. Now one more formal exchange of greetings between two neighbors. So here the formal exchange is between two neighbors. How do you do, Mr. Mehta? And he says, how did you do, Mr. Trivedi? I'm sorry, I didn't notice you. Well, I haven't seen you for quite some time. Well, almost a week now. I was out of town. Is everything all right with you, Mr. Mehta? So now you can see that the way I'm speaking, if there are question marks, the tone, the way you are pronouncing, the way you are speaking, that is showing that there is a question form. Then he says that how do you do? How do you do is not a question. In English language, keep in mind, how do you do, question mark, is a common greeting. And especially among the British, how do you do is not a question and it is a greeting. And the response to how do you do is, how do you do? I'm fine, how did you do? So this example shows the kind of exchange that could take place between two neighbors used to seeing each other regularly, right? And also reflects the concern felt by one another. One more example last. So it is all about greetings. Greetings are so important in our life that when you come across your friends, your colleagues, your seniors, your teachers, your boss, your friends, your parents, everywhere you have to greet. But the way you are greeting is different in every situation. Next, look at this example. Hi, hello, Why? What's the matter? Nothing. Come on, get it off your chest. Thanks. It is nothing really. Now you can see here a different type of effusive greeting. Hi. The first speaker is responded with a stiff hello with us by the second, and the exchange is not open. And you can see that the second speaker is not in a mood to talk freely. So that's why he says hello is less informal than hi. Hi is informal. You should not say hi to our seniors or to our parents. Generally, when we are sitting in friend circle or in the close circle, then it is hi is informal. Hello is less informal. So he says hi should be used with very close friends, not generally with older people or people who are superiors at work. And the word hello is most frequent greeting which one receives even on a telephone call. So hello, he is giving hello, hello, hello. So these are variations, even it is mentioned. So variations of the same word. First is hello, common. And other ways of greetings, because it is of English communication, so we are using English words, and but in even Indian context, we can also say different types of greetings, namaste, namaskar, and those are very well received. Now, other ways of greetings are, he says, good morning. So he's giving one more example, good morning. Other person says morning. So in the second instance, the word good is not uttered aloud, not spoken aloud, but is understood. He says good morning, the person says morning. Good evening, nice to see you. Hello, nice to see you. Delighted to see you. So these are the different other variations. And these are the different types of greetings. Then we are going to meet someone who is known to us. And then there is also one activity given that we have to draw or write down 5 other greetings and people used by people who are choosing around you and or on television or an English movie. Now here, introducing oneself and others. Now when you are going to introduce yourself. So he says now we have to introduce ourselves to people whom we have never met before. Sometimes we come across the people who are strangers and to whom we are meeting for the first time. So then example is given that there are 2 persons, 2 candidates are there and who have arrived for an interview, and they say, okay, I am Vinita, how did you do? He says, hello, I am so and so. His name is given, I am Naresh, nice to meet you. Then they are discussing about the location of their native places. Then again he says, okay, are we too early? No, he says, it is better this way than late. I agree. So these are some of the ways in which we introduce ourselves to others. Now, very important point. Notice we do not refer to ourselves as Mr. or Miss or Ms. or Mrs. or Doctor. Generally, we see that there are people who say, I am Doctor so and so. I don't want to name anyone. I am Mr. so and so or Mrs. so and so. But other person should ask you or call you Doctor or Mr. or Miss or Mrs. Not yourselves. Do not say, I am Mr. Sudhir Shah. So while speaking, we use contracted forms because this is a salutation. Mr., Doctor, these are the forms of salutation, the words of respect. When the other person is talking to you, then these salutations are used, right? So then here again check your progress. The activity is for you and you have to use some contracted forms of verbs and give their expanded forms. Now, extending invitations, accepting, declining invitations, and taking leave. So, my dear friends, there is one complete table is given for you, and here, if you are able to learn this complete table by heart, then I think it is going to be very, very beneficial. So, just in short or in brief, because if I start reading the whole table, it will take a lot of time. But again, only for a brief note. So now read this conversation and notice the way these two friends talk to each other. Notice the welcome, introduction, the way an invitation is extended, accepted, and declined. So here an imaginary situation, an imaginary scene is created where there are two friends, and the first friend comes there for invitation. How do they salute each other? How they are talking to each other? How the first person is giving invitation? How the other is declining invitation? How the first one is taking leave? Right. So, is Mr. Dhawan there, please? So, please do come in. I'm sorry to come like this. So, it is generally considered impolite to enter into someone's house without intimation, because this is one of the courtesies or the good manners or etiquette, that if you want to go to someone's house, then first of all, you must have informed him or her earlier. So, but here he says, okay, in the first section, the visitor excuses himself for his unannounced visit. He says this is unannounced visit or uninformed visit, and he is welcomed by the hostess. Hello, what a surprise. This is my afternoon round of rum. How about joining me? So again, there is a formality of the friend Bob and with his friend Barry. Okay, so now he says he is introducing his wife. He says, now, that is my wife, married 7 years now. Then, pleased to meet you, Mrs. Dhawan. So here you can see that the first friend is introducing his wife to him, and the expression, pleased to meet you. If you have the study material, please note down, underline, or even you can note it down. Pleased to meet you. So this is the response when someone is introduced and to you. So other expressions, pleased to meet you, or other expressions are glad to meet you, pleasure meeting you. And so these are not the full sentences, but these are phrases. And I am pleased, glad to meet you, it is pleasing, it is pleasure meeting you, right? So these would be the implied sentences. Implied sentences that the phrases have hidden meaning of these sentences. The sentences are not mentioned, just the phrases are mentioned. Fine. Then he says, okay, while I am in a hurry, I just came to ask you, Mrs. Dhawan and Gautam, okay? Okay, the visitor signals that he wishes to leave with the words, well, I am in a hurry. Then he is apologizing for non-acceptance, and then polite response. Again, he is trying to take leave. So again, some ways of leave taking. Notice the polite response by the host. So leave taking means that if you want to know, go back. Leave taking. He says, he hasn't come yet. I think I should leave. No thanks. Did he know you? Did he know you were coming? Thanks. Thanks for coming to see me. So these are the ways how you can take your leave. Okay. Now, then there are some progress checking activities for you. And in the progress checking activities, you have to grade the expressions and the level of formality and informality. Like whether this is the formal sentence or formal expression or the informal expression. Fine. So these topics were about greetings. Now we're having something about small talk. So in this section, we are going to discuss something about conversation is carried out on about topics. Small talk. Small talk like the talks about weather, food, entertainment. Right? And even weather is easy, is very easy subject to start a conversation, because when you go somewhere and you want to start a conversation, then you need a topic or you need a subject to start conversation. So he says that weather is easy subject to start conversation because all participants in a conversation share knowledge about the weather, and the weather is ever changing, and so can direct the course of conversation for a brief while at least. So the topic is more of a neutral in nature, and there is no danger of getting too personal or of holding offensively. So it is about natural phenomena. Like one more example is given. He says, terribly hot, isn't it? The temperature has touched 42 degrees according to the weather report today. And he says, okay, we are just in the middle of May, more than a month to go. So you can say, you have to notice that the shared information of the two agents of communication, they are trying to make it easy for them to take turns. So take turn means that I am speaking, then you start speaking. A is speaking, B is listening, then B starts speaking, A is listening. This is called turn taking. So turn taking is very important. Turn taking is very important for the smooth flow of conversation. Turn taking is very important for the smooth flow of conversation, because if the one person is speaking and the other person is not speaking, then it becomes one-way communication. It becomes a lecture, it becomes a sermon, it becomes a preaching, not a conversation. So in order to make a conversation effective and in real manner, there should be the turn taking of the two agents of communication. So as a response to what one speaker has said, the second speaker continues or adds information. So one person has said something, the other person keeps on speaking something or adding information. So this shows or this implies that good listening is important to maintain the flow of conversation. So if you are a good speaker, if you are a good listener, you must be a good listener if you want to be a good speaker. So if the one of the participants is distracted and he starts another topic and he is not listening, the flow of conversation will be disturbed and even it will become uneven. So he will not be able to respond. Similarly, if a person who doesn't allow others to get in a word edgeways, then a conversation is a bore conversation. Then again, for you, there is a one progress. Checking your progress activity. Here you have to arrange the utterances and you have to arrange the spoken forms or the expressions made by two speakers in the sequence. Okay, next is of your personal matters. Personal matters, again, of same thing that earlier it was, because we're talking about the small talks. It is all about informal communication. That's why we are talking about greetings, we are talking about small talks, personal matters, because we are learning communication skills. And communication skills are not only for official purposes. Communication skills are not only for academic purposes, not only for office jobs. Communication is for your life skills. So everywhere, the way you talk, the way you behave, the way you communicate, it is going to be very positive and long-lasting impact on your relationships with others. So people and what do they do are interesting topics for conversation. Yes, this is a very important thing. That is called gossips. We are talking about people, we are talking about our colleagues, we are talking about others. How do they do? What do they do? This is called about gossips. And sometimes it becomes backbiting in the negative sense if you go beyond the limits. So here the point is this, that in a good communication skills, fine, we can't stop talking about others, but he says if you want to talk about others, try to speak good about others. Otherwise, speaking something wrong about a person in his absence, then it becomes backbiting, and we should refrain from these activities, right? Okay. Then again, one more topic is of food. So yes, this is a very important thing. Another favorite topic that lends itself to talk is food. So first was the weather, then it is second was of your personal issues, personal matters. It's all about food, and because talking about the new or popular eating places. So here you can say its examples are given. I am not going to read each and every line, just only for your reference I'm taking the examples. He says fresh guavas from our orchard. Okay, yes, they seem to be ripe. Okay, glorious days. And the subject of the first sentence is guava. It is about instruction, that about glorious days, right? So these words are linking with the another words. So conversation might have entered in two utterances. If the second speaker had accepted the fruit with just a thank you. So first speaker says, okay, have this guavas please. Then the other person engages in the conversation and he tries to keep on or the talking about more and more about fruits. Again, this topic is also about the informal conversation. So here you can say that this is called the cooperative principle in conversation. Cooperative principle. Cooperative means the person is cooperating. Cooperating means that one person is saying something, the other person is not negating, the other person is not declining. Rather, he enters into conversation with the first person's interest with same level or same degree of interest. And next one is of entertainment. Entertainment like weather, food, entertainment everywhere in a town, village, city. You're all about movies, you're all about songs, right? And entertainment about cricket, football matches, right? So different forms of entertainment are there, and in different forms of entertainment we keep on talking. And but you will notice that in the informal conversation, speakers usually drop the polite tone. So expressions like "don't be stupid," "that's downright silly," so they are used without really meaning to be rude, right? So you can say that because emotions are involved there, when like you're watching Indian cricket team playing, then the emotions are high. So again, although the situation is informal and the greetings are also informal, in brief, entertainment. So entertainment, cricket matches, football matches, tennis matches, movies, etc. Now, this was about greetings. Now, next topic is coming off your inquiries. This is very important thing. So, inquiries means we inquire, we ask something, we want to know something, we have some suspicions in our mind, some points are not clear, so we make inquiries face to face or on telephone about people, about services, about procedures or events, and we will discuss inquiries of different kinds in the following sections. So here in your material, there different types of inquiries are mentioned. First one is of your personal inquiries. Personal inquiries, and personal inquiries means we might often have to inquire about people. So we might know who we wish to meet, and sometimes we would like to confirm whether we are talking to the right person. For example, if you are making a call, then first of all you want to inquire, or you want to make it clear the person who is speaking, especially in the earlier days, not in these days when the mobile phones are used and the person's phone number or even his picture is displayed. So personal inquiries. Here one example is given. My dear students, you can see that all your examples or all your topics are being clarified taking the small extracts from the fiction or small stories or the prose pieces or novels, because language is used for creating literature. Language and literature, they are interconnected. Even literature doesn't mean that you are reading a novel or you are reading the drama of Shakespeare or you are reading the poetry of Robert Frost. Even the small piece of newspaper is also literature, small brochure is also literature, because language is used for literature. Any language where there is not a good literature, then it is not considered to be a great language, right? So here he is asking, you can say the visitor knows that the person is Captain Hagbird because he meets him at his residence, but he wishes to confirm. He says, "You must be Captain Hagbird." "Yes, I am. You haven't waiting for your son." "I believe, yes, my son Harry is coming home tomorrow." So he says, instead, now you can see the difference. Instead of asking the direct question, he could ask, "Are you Captain Hagbird?" But he says, "You must be Captain Hagbird." Why? The next question gets a little more personal, but is again not asked directly, but in the form of statement with a question tagged in "I believe." So he says, "You have been waiting for your son, comma, I believe, question mark." Right? Now, so this is about the formal inquiry. Now contrast this with the direct questions in the informal conversation below between a husband and wife. He says, What are you busy at, Lakshman? I'm trying to complete this jigsaw puzzle. Oh, you are always doing your puzzles. Why don't you go for a movie instead? So now, direct questions begin with the WH words like what, where, when, why, how. So this is the basic form of question. But we do not always ask questions in this form. The questions are suitably toned down and modified according to the relationship between two speakers. Yes, this is very important. The relationship between two speakers. When we are asking question to a teacher, it is a different way. When asking question from our friends, then it is of different manner. So it is not quite polite to ask a person his or her name directly. So we use modal verbs to frame polite questions like, could I know your name please? Generally we don't say, what is your name? We could say, could I know your name please? Or may I know your name please? Or your name please? With a rise in the tone. So this is the polite way of asking someone about his name. So if the person has been introduced to you already, but you have missed the name, it means you have forgot, and you can say that I am afraid I didn't get your name. I'm afraid I didn't get your name. Or if you want to be sure whether the person is working, you could say, did you say you were working in so and so? So this is about personal inquiries. First one was of personal inquiries. The next is of telephonic inquiries. Telephonic inquiries, again telephonic inquiries of two ways. First, receiving a call, and second is of making a call. So receiving a call. So it is a telephone courtesy to identify yourself. When you pick up the receiver, an individual or a private residence might say, Jairam here, or Sanjay is here, hello, who is speaking? Mr. Shori's residence. So here, business establishment is expected to identify itself when it receives a call. Good morning, India Travel Bureau. When the person is receiving the call, then he is introducing his own personality, his own name, and the business establishment, any business house, any firm, any organization, any company, right? And sometimes some of you have heard automated messages. Even these days, if you call a company, if you call any big firm, then there are the automated messages or the recorded messages or the stored messages followed by the music. Then they say, okay, thank you for calling Global Consultants. Our operator will be with you in a minute. Please wait. Thank you for calling so and so. So the personal counterpart of such a message is the answering machine. It means here one person is the human being, the other party is a machine. So the owner of the machine records a friendly message on the machine which the caller hears. So machine is not speaking. Machine is only just a gadget, a tool where the owner of the machine has recorded his or her voice message earlier. Like one example of a voice message is given. Hi, I'm Geeta. Thank you for calling. I'm sorry I am not able to respond to you right now, but if you would like to leave a message, please do so after you hear a beep. So this is a kind of voice message given. So this is about receiving a call. Next is about making a call. Making a call. So sometimes the person whom you call does not identify himself or herself. So they may wish to preserve their privacy and want you to identify yourself first. If you are not sure you have the right number, so you may say, hello, is that number is mentioned 27754, please. May I talk to Mr. Madhukar, the name of the person, may I talk to Mr. Sharma. So in any case, persons who make a call are expected to identify themselves and say who they wish to speak to. And if I am making a call, I have to introduce myself. If you are making a call, then you have to introduce yourselves. For example, he says, hi Geeta, this is Prakash. I'm here in Pune for a day, speaking to an answering machine. And he says, hello, may I speak to Mr. Anil Shori, please? Good morning. I'm Madhukar. He is telling his name. Good afternoon. I am a regular customer of your bank and I have a problem with my statement. It means you have to introduce yourself. Then again, the examples are given for you in your book. Like there's a long dialogues, like there are two friends, and I'm not going to read the whole conversation. You can do it yourselves. But here you can find one clear point that conversation is very, very important, and conversation without the formal level, informal level. So you can say here in this unit, and the unit first and unit second, because there are four units in this block 2. First is of your informal interpersonal functions, second is of your making inquiries and asking questions, and unit 3 and unit 4 that we will discuss tomorrow, that will be about formal situations. So here it was about the informal situations. In the coming lecture, we will discuss about the formal situations like group discussions, meetings, presentation skills, essentials of presentation skills. Because the name of the unit or the title of the block 2 is listening and speaking in the informal and formal context. So today we have been discussing about the informal context. And tomorrow we will discuss about the formal context. Formal context, group discussions are there, meetings are there, presentations skills are there. So you can say that in this unit we have learned some of the ways in which inquiries are made. So the basic question forms are either questions given beginning with WH words like or yes or no questions. Who, what, when, where, how, or the answers are in the method form of yes or no. However, the degree of politeness that we wish to maintain suggests other forms in which questions may be asked. Polite form of questions usually are indirect and make use of modal verbs. Remember this when you are asking questions. So, my dear friends, that in the block 2, again I repeat that there are four units. And out of 4 units, first and second units they are discussing, and I have tried to elaborate in detail as well as in a brief mode, because the informal situations are also important. Generally, students would ask you, why are you talking about these things? We know these things very well daily. We are living in society and we know how to start conversation. Fine, you know these things. But there is always the room or place to improve. As I mentioned earlier, communication skills are not only for business, not only for office, not only for schools and colleges. Communication skills are very important life skills. Even you can see that these days there are certain courses, there are some private firms and companies, they are even having the crash courses regarding personality development, communication skills. So everywhere we need communication skills. If you want to be a good professor later on, if you want to be a good lecturer later on, if you want to be a good teacher, even a good orator, and in every field, in every scale, if you even a doctor, engineer, everywhere, professionally and personally, these communication skills will really be beneficial for you. And even in the schools, you see that there are some small kids who are practicing, they're participating in debates or in the elocution, in the poetry recitation. So these are the activities, those are done, or the students are involved in the cultural activities, co-curricular activities. So everything, these are interconnected. The communication skills, these are interconnected. And the informal situations are very important. Generally, in everywhere, so I should congratulate the IGNOU teachers and the IGNOU resource persons who have made your study material, that they have included this very important topic of the informal situations in your syllabus. Because generally, even in the school and colleges, we right away go to the formal situations. If you want to teach communication skills, okay, they start listening skills, speaking skills, reading skills, and writing skills. Okay, teach them memo writing, teach them letter writing, teach them how to do group discussion. But the informal part is missed. But here, that's why they have included 2 special units of the block 2 for the informal situations and the informal interpersonal functions. The interpersonal functions, because making inquiries, asking questions, like we are living in society, we are living in the families, we are moving in the friend circle. So these are the informal situations, but these informal situations are so important situations that our formal life is based on the success and the satisfaction in the informal situations. Because as I said the last lecture, that if there is good communication, then there is less place of less room for misunderstanding, because when the communication is there, everything is clear. And when there is no communication, you are going to spoil your relationships, and your relationships with the within the family members, within the family, with the friends. And again, you are going to be becoming anxious, anxiety is there, depression is there. And even I tell you that there are some good companies in the world that are having different and separate human resource management departments, where they are taking care of the well-being, the psychological, the mental well-being of their implies. And for again, there you will see that again the communication skills is also important, and they are motivated, they are persuaded that you should talk confidently, you should talk honestly, you should talk with truthfulness. So although these topics have not been included, but I just want to add something, that in the informal situations, what is more important? Truthfulness, honesty, clarity, no cheating others, because at the end of the day, we are human beings and we are having mind. If your mind is cool, then you are successful in your professional life. Now we can understand this thing very well in these days, or in the time of lockdown, that communication is important. Communication with your friends, communication with your parents, your sister, brother, within the family, so everywhere. So today this lecture was about the total informal, not about the formal. Today I haven't touched the topics of the formal communication, neither written nor spoken. So tomorrow, next lecture, we are going to discuss, and again the unit number 3, that is about group discussion and meetings of the block 2. And then unit 4, presentation skills, essentials of presentation skills. So then group discussions and meetings. Now we will go from the informal to the formal situations, the formal situations where the group discussions will be done. And now even group discussions, just only for introduction, only 1 or 2 minutes more, because the formal situations or the formal topics will be discussed later on. Just only to introduce you, what will be the objectives, that group discussions and group communication skills, group processing and assessment skills, then meetings, making the agendas of meetings and preparing for meetings. Because even we at colleges, we are also doing or participating in meetings and for administrative works. So in every situation, formal and informal. But again, keep in mind that, like we discussed earlier, like the formal and the verbal and non-verbal forms of communication are there. They are complementary to each other. They are not contradictory. Non-verbal is always going to support the verbal form of communication. Similarly, the informal contexts are going to. If you are going to attend a meeting, you are going to engage in a group discussion. But before that, the beginning of that formal meeting, you were there in the informal situation, and that informal situation was spoiled. Your day was spoiled, your day was ruined due to that lack of communication skills, lack of good personal communication skills. Then these things will also show an impact on your meeting, maybe positive, maybe negative. You can understand my point. So I think it is over for today, and the lecture is going to over. And after this, again, the students, especially from Chandigarh, those who have taken admission and they have been assigned the Learners Sports Center 06007, Sri Guru Gobind Singh College, Sector 26, Chandigarh. Those students, for you people at right now, after the completion of this lecture at 2:30 p.m., there will be induction meeting on the Google Meet, not on the Facebook Live, but on the Google Meet, where the coordinator of Sri Guru Gobind Singh College, IGNOU Sports Center, Learners Sports Center 06007, Dr. Interpersonal Sidhu will be live and he will support you. And I Google Meet if it is feasible, so that every year, not every year, but he organize induction meeting in our college. But today the induction meeting will be held online right now after 1 or 2 minutes, 2:30 p.m. on Google Meet, not on Facebook Live, on Google Meet. So okay, it is fine. I think I have tried to do something good for you. So if I have done good, then I wish you should try to gain. And okay, stay happy,